Okay, good evening. Can I have a motion? I'm sorry, can we call the meeting to order and have a roll call, please?
Dr. Lopez?
Here.
Mr. Holt?
Present.
Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Ms. Macronis? Mr. Post?
Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at the moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is item D, it's recognitions. We do not have any today, so we'll move to item E, board communications. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment?
Congrats on making it to the end of the school year. That's it.
And congratulations to the high schools for graduation. It was beautiful as always. It's always special to see these kids be excited to continue their journey. So we're going to move to item F, remarks from the public. We do have one. Raina York, come on up.
Okay, good evening, President Lopez, members of the board, Dr. Streeter, senior staff, and community members. On behalf of MEA, I want to take a moment to thank Dr. Streeter and senior staff for the many opportunities to collaborate with teachers and staff this year in an effort to enrich our successes and to problem solve issues. Our educators value having a voice in decisions that impact our classrooms and students, and we thank you for sharing that value. I also would like to thank the board for their commitment and support for students and educators this year, and the collaborative nature in which you engage with our administration. Our educators continue to show up and create amazing learning opportunities, and Marana is so fortunate to have such dedicated professionals in our community. When we all work together, our students benefit and thrive. I hope everyone has an opportunity over this break to rest and rejuvenate so that we can continue our good work next school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is item G, superintendent comments. Dr. Streeter.
President Lopez, governing board members, members of the audience, let me just start off by saying congratulations to each of our high school principals and their entire teams for the exceptional efforts that they put forth in organizing 3 outstanding graduation ceremonies. The planning, the dedication, attention to detail were obvious for each of our 3 high school ceremonies. More importantly, congratulations to our recent graduates. I could not be more proud of the hard work, perseverance, and commitment that was displayed by the class of 2023. I also want to acknowledge our 8th grade promotion ceremonies. During the last week of school, we were able to celebrate the promotions of what, from this point forward, we will now call the class of 2027. I will say those school teams did a tremendous job in putting together outstanding promotion ceremonies, and congratulations to those students for all of their accomplishments. And as quickly as the school year ended, we're right back to work planning for the 23-24 school year. I want to thank over 500 teachers who have participated in professional learning so far this summer at Tortolita Middle School as they play host to our summer learning activities. Also this week, we've continued our work with the High Reliability Schools Framework as we welcomed Phil Warwick back to MUSD. All of our leaders are looking forward to continuing the necessary work that will align our systems around research-based practices that are based on not just effective schools, but high reliability organizations with a focus on student achievement. Speaking of high reliability schools, to date, 9 of our schools have officially been recognized for achieving level 1 certification. We have 3 additional schools that are waiting to hear back from the certification committee with the Marzano Resource Institute. And our remaining schools are getting ready to submit all of their supporting documentation to the review team with the goal of having all of our schools Level 1 certified by the end of the summer. The focus for Level 2 really surrounds our work around ensuring that we have effective, not just effective teaching in every classroom, but that we have the supports built in that allows this to take place. I could not be more proud of, and when I say leaders, understand I'm talking about not just our administrators and directors, but our teacher leaders throughout the district that dedicate themselves to this work. And this concludes my report tonight.
I have a question about something you just said,
Please.
so if I could have the liberty.
Go for it.
So you said something right now you didn't say previously, that the goal is to have the remaining, 5 schools certified by the end of summer. So is there enough opportunity and time to, correct whatever deficiencies Marzano finds, between now and, July?
Yes, that's a great question. The answer to that question is yes, because we have been engaging along the way. So I do fully anticipate all schools being Level 1 certified.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next item is item H, consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
I move we adopt the consent agenda and approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
The consent agenda includes gifts and donations, pretty much the same as it always is, out-of-state travel. But the one that caught my eye that I just loved was to approve a Marana High School student crochet club. And I used to love to do that as a kid. So that's pretty exciting. And I was reading the goals, and their goals is to crochet, to knit together, to get ideas and help, borrow supplies, etc. So I thought that was pretty neat. So next item is, so thank you, Ms. Ransom.
You have to vote on that.
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. No. Next item is item I, unfinished business. There is none, so we'll move to item J for new business. Dr. Streeter, discussion approval of 2023-24 employee compensation package.
President Lopez, governing board members, members of the audience, with the recent passage of a budget by the Arizona State Legislature, discussions with employee groups related to the compensation for 2023-2024 have been completed. The following salary increases and benefits are recommended. When we're looking at salaries, a 4% raise to all certified staff, setting aside the provisions of the salary plan, and 2% raise to the current base salaries of on the certified staff hiring schedule. 4% raise to all support staff employees and to the base rate of pay for each position listed on the support employee pay schedule. 4% raise to all exempt and professional non-teaching staff, and a 2% raise to the current base salaries of the exempt and professional non-teaching staff hiring schedules. 4% raise to administrators and 2% raise to the current base salaries of the administrator hiring schedule. 2 retention stipends of up to $500. The first stipend dependent on available monies by October 31st, 2023. The second stipend is dependent on available monies by March 31st of 2024 for all certified exempt professional, non-teaching, and administrative staff members. Also, a one-time stipend from Prop 123 monies. The amount of that stipend will be determined after September 1st, 2023. That'll be based on enrollment numbers at that time. That one-time stipend would go to all employees. Continue coverage of the lowest single health insurance premium.
I move that the governing board approve the 2023-2024 employee compensation package.
Second?
Any questions?
I do.
Okay.
So is the amount of increase 6% or 4%? Yeah. The way it's written here, it sounds like it's 6.
Yeah.
So it's 4% with 2% of that going on the base.
4% to employees, and then on the hiring schedule, we're going to increase the hiring schedule cells by 2%.
Okay, yeah. So it's 4%, not 6.
Good clarifying question.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is J2, Discussion approval of tentative agreement with Marana Education Association. Dr. Streeter.
Item J2 has to do with negotiations with the Marana Education Association. The following items were tentatively agreed upon. We've talked about salary, talked about continued coverage of lowest single health insurance premium. Also looking at some policy changes, policy GCI, which is changes to the professional staff development to include guidance on book studies, webinars, national board maintenance of certification. Policy GCL, which is changes to professional staff schedules and calendars to clarify language for prep coverages, prep coverage section, and add one induction day for new teachers. Policy GCO is changes to evaluation of professional staff members as recommended by the Teacher Evaluation Committee. Clarification of the use of time on pre-service days and staff professional learning days. Revisions to teacher leadership positions and stipends. And the creation of priority enrollment periods for MUSD employees in our ELO LEAP and ECE programs, think early childhood education programs. The policy changes related to GCO will be brought separately at a future governing board meeting.
I move that the governing board approve the tentative agreement with MEA.
Second?
Any questions?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
So included in the package, as well as the previous package, is liability insurance, correct? Professional liability insurance?
Yeah, I mean, professional liability insurance is included in the trust our
Right.
insurance.
Right, so there's no need for any employee to go out and buy extra liability insurance because it's already provided, right?
It is provided. I
Yeah.
don't know about it, whether I don't know about the need for additional, but yes, it is
Yeah.
provided through our insurance liability coverage.
Right, okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is J3, Dr. Streeter, discussion approval of tentative agreement with Marana Education Support Professionals.
Dr. Lopez, governing board members, members of the audience, this item has to do with meet and confer sessions with the Marana Educational Support professionals, so our support staff. Following items were tentatively agreed upon. Salary, again, 4% raise to all support staff employees and to the base rate pay on the pay schedule. One-time stipend from Prop 123, that amount and method payment to be determined after September 1st and continued coverage of lowest single health insurance.
I move that the governing board approve the tentative agreement with MESP.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is J4, discussion approval of 2023-24 proposed school district expenditure budget. Mr. Contorno.
Thank you. Statute dictates that a school district must propose and then adopt an annual school district budget prior to July 15th each year. We will have multiple opportunities to correct this budget throughout the year for actual ADM, hopefully growth. After the 100th day is what we'll finally rest on it before May 15th. Some of the highlights in this proposed budget are the maintenance and operation fund was increased to $113,136,000. That was an increase to from just under $105 million. That assumes 150 ADM growth, and it also includes that Prop 123 addition of about $3.4 million of one-time money. So that's the M&O budget. The district additional assistance, we call it DA. Most people refer to it as our capital budget. Will be $9.5 million. This is an increase in capacity of $1.125 million from previous school year. Classroom site fund has increased by $588,000. The new budget is $11,429,000, which reflects the per weighted student count allocation increase from 708 to 758, which is, that was a large increase. We will be, pending your approval, suggesting an additional levy for adjacent ways of $1.1 million. That's a slight increase of $150,000 from our previous $950,000. Due to increase in assessed value, the rate will actually be a slight decrease. So I was able to increase it to 1.1. These dollars are being set aside for future projects such as the K-8, because we can supplement the bond money with appropriate expenditures that come out of adjacent ways. If this, the board approves this proposed budget, I will publish a copy of the proposed budget in a notice of public hearing and board meeting no later than 10 days prior to the meeting for the adoption. That's a statutory requirement. Another statutory requirement is by increasing or putting 1 penny of levy for adjacent ways, I must have a truth and taxation public hearing prior to that adoption. So that will be also happen, I don't remember, is it July 13th, hopefully, is the board meeting that we're going to hopefully have you adopt that budget. So before you is the proposed budget, and it is the correct forms this year. Remember last year it was a fiasco because I had the wrong one. So this is actually, I didn't have to make edits. They finished the budget in way earlier than previous years, so this is a clean budget.
Thank you.
I move the governing board approve the 2023-2024 school district annual expenditure budget as proposed.
A second.
Any questions?
I have one question and then one statement. So for everybody watching, I know he went through the numbers, but the total budget's just under 137 million. It's 136.7. So I don't know. I didn't do the math to see what the increase was over last year, but it's substantial. Can you explain what adjacent ways funds are
Yes.
used for?
Yes, adjacent ways is set aside for hooking up of utilities, and also the safe egress and egress of students. So when you think of a new school, maintaining our current schools, you can pay for the paving improvements for fire lane only. So like in a project such as a K-8, there's a lot of parking lot for parents and staff and buses that doesn't get paid for out of adjacent ways, but then we ask for it to be broken out to adjacent way eligible expenses, which is the fire lane. Actually, I think the bus lanes, if I remember right, are also part of that. So there's some sidewalk, but a lot of times in a school district, in a new school construction, you end up with some of the utility hookup fees, but not the meters, but the actual cost of bringing the utility to your sight line. So in the new one, we probably will not have that because the utilities are already at. We used it quite extensively when we built Dove Mountain.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item is J5, discussion approval of an award of request for qualification for design build services for K-8 school near Gladden Farms community and improved chief financial officer to begin negotiations with firms. Mr. Contorno.
All right, thank you. On April 4th of 2023, our school district issued a request for qualifications for design build services for the new K-8 school that will be located in the Gladden Farms community in accordance with school district procurement rules that are in the Arizona Administrative Code 7. Requests for qualification notices were sent to 31 vendors, and these were all, in this model, we're really talking to contractors, because if you remember right, design build is we're awarding to a contractor who's bringing an architect as part of their team. So think of contractors that we sent 31 Two vendors responded with a no bid and three vendors responded with proposals. A five-member selection committee reviewed the statement of qualifications received. The criteria that we used to evaluate these proposals was first, a method of approach for the project, qualifications and experience of the personnel that were going to be assigned. We felt that that was important because we wanted to know who are we actually going to work with, not just the figureheads of these companies. Experience of the firm, building K-8 schools in Arizona, organizational strength, and then responsiveness. Upon completion of these initial evaluations, we determined the short list to be the top three firms, which were the only three firms that submitted proposals, so we interviewed them. The committee ranked the firms in the following order: Core Construction, then Chase Building, and then Concord Construction. At this point, the district is in the position to negotiate those terms in contract language, starting with Core Construction. If unable to come to some form of agreement, then we would have to move to the Chase Building team. If that was unsuccessful, we would go to Concord, and if that was unsuccessful, then we would have to start the whole process over again. The project will soon enter into pre-construction or design phase work after a negotiated contract is executed. The pre-con service fees that we will be seeing, I've been told will be 1% of that $35 million budget, plus any architect or engineering fees to get the project to design. So at a subsequent governing board meeting, an agenda item will be presented recommending approval of a guaranteed maximum price, which is the actual cost of construction. That GMP is the GMP is a construction cost. Due to the nature of the industry, it is anticipated that we'll have multiple GMPs for this project. When we built our previous, we usually just have one, but they're going to want to get through early design for HVAC and some of the long lead items, such as electrical gear. So then we'll probably bring a GMP for that. At that time, we will also be receiving a budget for whether or not we're still, in fact, in line with where we're projecting, and then we'll have a final GMP, which will be the lion's share of that project. Tonight, as I said, I'm seeking governing board approval of the solicitation, so awarding those three in that order, and approval of me, the chief financial officer, to work starting with Core and district legal counsel to negotiate that pre-construction contract. I can tell you we've had the generic version of that design build contract reviewed by our attorney. I'm waiting. I have received his comments, and I've started to share those with Core, but we have not made it much further than that until I seek approval tonight.
Can I have a motion?
I move that the governing board approve the award of requests for qualifications of 24-03-24 design build services for a K-8 school near Gladden Farms community, and approve Dan Conterno, CFO, to begin negotiations with the firm in order of Core Construction, Chase Building Team, and Concord Construction.
Second.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I've seen Core and Chase build schools, but who is Concord Construction and where are they from?
Concord's a large firm that does a lot of work. I actually don't remember from their proposal. Tolleson, Phoenix. They do have a Tucson office, I believe. They brought SPS Plus as their architect firm. Yes, they're a viable company also.
But they haven't built schools here in Tucson, right?
I don't remember, not for us.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple. Have all three of these teams chosen different architecture firms?
Yes, the Core Construction chose BWS, which is firm that we've
We've
worked
used,
with.
right.
We've worked with. Chase worked with DLR. We have DLR is a great firm also. And then Concord use SPS Plus.
Okay. And you mentioned that the HVAC system, as an example, is one of the long lead things. But how can you size or spec an HVAC system if you don't have a design?
Correct. Yeah, and that's going to be one of the early, the GMPs are anticipated it'll take a while before they develop that. The biggest lead item is electrical switchgear, which they'll, based on square footage and after they start going through some of the early programming for the building, we'll get they'll narrow down, is it going to be a one building? Is it going to be, and they'll be able to anticipate that switchgear, which that's the long lead item. And then HVAC, they said, will also they'll have an idea of the tonnage or whatever system they need. But yeah, they've done it before. They said-
Under this construct, this design
I mean,
build construct?
Yeah, and if you remember from the study sessions, this isn't very much different than a CM at risk at this point. We really are working with, once we signed the one contract with the construction person, the architect gets basically paid for by the contracting firm. There's not much difference from our point of view at this point between a CM at risk and design build. So we're going to have meetings as soon as we can. That's the urgency behind this, is to start talking about these buildings and programming. And then they'll start to develop, and they'll get 25% schematic design and so forth. So, yeah.
So we're not under any more risk of cost overruns under this construct than we were with the last school we built?
No, I mean,
Okay.
as we go through the process, I don't remember when, if it's 90% drawings or something, that's when, if negotiations are successful with CORE, at that point, they're gonna start looking at nailing down that guaranteed maximum price, and we'll know that price. That's the beauty of the model that we chose, and also CM at risk, is the notion you're not gonna see change orders unless there's something major that we decide to change.
Okay.
That's the nice thing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is J6, discussion approval of participating institution data sharing agreement for personalized college admission project with the Arizona Department of Education, the ASU Helios Decision Center for Educational Excellence, the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, and the Helios Education Foundation. Ms. Reedy.
Dr. Lopez, members of the board, Dr. Streeter, members of senior staff, and our virtual and in-person audience. Last year, we entered into a partnership with all of the organizations Dr. Lopez just mentioned. This partnership enabled our district to the opportunity to access post-secondary outcomes so that we can then plan for the needs of our current secondary students. So at this time, we would like to move forward with entering into a data sharing agreement with these organizations so that we can work with them in order to provide personalized college admission letters to our secondary students who've met or exceeded the criteria required for in-state college admissions. And so our students do incredible things. They take courses, they earn credits through dual enrollment and through AP classes. They take standardized tests. Some of those students apply to in-state universities and some do not. This would allow this consortium of organizations to provide us with the information based on student scores and credits, students who have met the criteria based on their data profile in order to earn college admissions. And so what's beautiful about this agreement is we would get that information and then we would match those criteria with then the students that earned them, and then the letters would come from our district, co-signed by Dr. Streeter and a representative from all of the in-state institutions. And so they could get a letter from ASU, NAU, U of A, in order to let them know that their child has met or exceeded the criteria for admissions and offer them admissions without students having to necessarily apply. And so sometimes students don't really realize that they have actually met or exceeded the criteria, that they're a little intimidated to apply, and they would actually find out that they've earned admission. And it would be up to the family then to then contact the in-state university to go ahead and move forward with the enrollment process. There is no obligation, but it does inform them of the opportunities that their child has earned as a result of being a part of our district and their solid academic progress here.
Thank you.
I move that the governing board approve data sharing agreement for personalized college admissions project with the Arizona Department of Education, the ASU Helios Decision Center for Educational Excellence, the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, and the Helios Education Foundation.
Second.
Thank you for that. That is, that's going to be absolutely outstanding data to have.
that's
So
really cool.
excited to have that. Do we have any questions?
I guess I do. So I've never heard of this before. So, before reading this, so what's wrong with the normal admission process?
Nothing. I think there isn't a fault in it other than sometimes the reason that students don't engage in it is because they feel that they are not necessarily going to get in. And so what this does is it takes that, it's almost that activation energy. It brings that down so that way it is letting families know that their child, you are college ready. You have met or exceeded that criteria, and we are offering you a seat in our classrooms in order to learn in our post-secondary institution.
Will those notifications go to all seniors in our 3 high schools?
No. It would only go to those students that would be offered college admissions based on their academic performance.
Okay, okay, right, so I said it wrong.
Okay, sorry.
So would all students in our 3 high schools, no matter their color, their SES, anything else, any other criteria, would they all be offered the same letter, assuming that they have met the requirements?
If they've met or exceeded the academic criteria, they will be getting that letter, yes, sir.
Okay. So then really, there's no reason for anybody to apply for a state school anymore, since we're going this way, right? I mean,
We
unless
are
you don't meet the standards.
We are certainly going to continue to encourage our students to go down the traditional path. I think that this is an opportunity because it's not just for earlier students, for students in the sophomore and junior range. We're also going to let them know if they're on track to earn that college admissions. And so
Okay.
this is a communication that is intended to generate hope and to really help students see that they are on track for post-secondary collegiate success.
When will they be getting these notifications?
Early in the fall.
Okay.
And so once this data agreement is signed, then they're going to go ahead and crunch through that spring data. And then early in the fall, we will work to communicate with families because this is new. And what
Right.
we really want our families to know that their child's name has never left our school district because we know that student data privacy is very important. And so, but we want to let them know that we have worked very closely with these organizations to identify that their child has in fact met the criteria. And then from there on out, nobody's going to contact them outside of that letter, and which is going to be co-signed by Dr. Streeter.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you.
Of course.
The other thing that's just good about this is kids can focus on applying out of state too, instead of focusing on in-state first, and kind of give them that barrier of not stressing out too. So they always have a backup plan if they get waiting list or X, Y, and Z. That's the only reason I've heard of this actually. So cool, awesome.
We have to vote.
Almost waiting. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item is J7, discussion approval of policy considerations. Ms. Reedy.
All right. Dr. Lopez, members of the board, senior staff, and again, our in-person and virtual audience, in Title 15 of statute, it indicates, that's the education, the whole array of education statutes. there is a provision that indicates that any meeting that is held about textbook selection, where programs are being evaluated for whether or not they would be considered for adoption, they're privy to open meeting law, and we must follow open meeting law requirements in order to make sure that the public is aware of those meetings and can come and watch as a member of the public those conversations taking place. So, over several years, there have been concerns and complaints that have been brought up regarding these meetings meetings of this nature not necessarily following the open meeting law. And as a result, ASBA has recommended that districts, their member districts, incorporate policy language into policy that ensures that this requirement becomes a part of district policies. And so the 3 policy changes that I bring before you today are the 3 policies where we would add the clause about the statement that any meeting about a textbook selection would be required to fall under the open meeting guidelines. And so what's really nice is we got the notification of this policy advisory during the last month of school, and we were 100% in compliance during our textbook selection committee meeting that we had on December 15th, where we reviewed the reading and writing program. And so we did follow open meeting law, and it was posted for all public to join us at the tech center. And so I was very pleased that we were 100% in compliance.
Thank you.
I move that the governing board approve the revisions to policy IGA, curriculum development, IGD, curriculum adoption, and IJJ, textbook/supplementary materials selection and adoption.
Second,
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So when will our curriculum be posted to our website?
Yeah. So we are going to have all unit overviews, including priority standards and how students are going to be assessed before the beginning of next school year. So during the month of July, it will be put on the website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next
Aye.
item is J8, discussion approval of policy considerations. Dr. Dunlap.
Thank you, President Lopez, members of the board, Dr. Streeter, and the community. I'm bringing you 5 different policies. Some of them are just a little bit of cleanup. The first 2 policies you've heard about already this evening. They're a result of our negotiations with MEA, policy GCI on professional staff development, and policy GCL, professional staff schedules and calendars. The next policy change is being requested by the Human Resources Department. It's policy GCCD, professional support staff, military and legal leave. It's being revised to more clearly reflect state law on how employees are to be paid while on military leave. The policy is actually not very clear, and in going through this with an employee recently, our attorney suggested that we include some additional language so that employees would know exactly what to expect. The next policy change is being requested by our principals. Actually, it's JFB open enrollment. We're revising that policy to eliminate the requirement to complete the open enrollment form every year. Once there are families, there are families. And then also to move the initial deadline for open enrollment applications from April 1st to February 1st. That will help principals in planning sections and student and staffing needs for the following year. The last policy change I'm bringing is being revised based on the recommendation of the Arizona School Boards Association. It's coming from new statutory requirements related to educating teachers and school professionals on the prevalence of people living with epilepsy and seizures. It does require training and dissemination of all information, so we will be adding a required training for all of our employees. But ASBA also took this opportunity to really clean up that policy JLCD. You'll see a lot of changes in that one.
I move that the governing board approve the revisions to policy GCI, professional staff development, policy GCL, professional staff schedules and calendars, policy GCCD, professional/staff military legal/legal leave, policy JFB, open enrollment, and policy JLCD, medicine/administering medicines to students.
Second,
Quick question, Dr. Demler, on
Yes.
administering the medicine to students on that training. Is that the school nurses doing the training?
There's actually a Safe Schools training, which is the training provided by the trust. It's online,
Okay,
and it's fairly short. Ms. Pargas has selected that training, and it's one of the approved trainings.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one actually. Do we have Narcan on every campus?
We do,
Every single one?
yes.
Perfect. Including, and what about employee areas?
Well,
Where it's-
They're
where
in the
students-
health office.
And what about like our, where our buses is or all that? Do we have them in every area?
No, certainly not in every area, in every health office.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is J9, discussion approval of girls' flag football program at Marana High School and Mountain View High School. Mr. Goligoski.
Can we hear? Okay. Green light is on. So, okay, we'll do that. Dr. Lopez, members of the board, Dr. Streeter, senior staff, and the audience. I'm coming tonight to propose a request or get request or approval for the start of a girls AIA sanctioned flag football team at Mountain View High School and at Marana High. There are currently, this upcoming season will be the first season statewide. There are 62 teams currently at the 6A and the 5A level that have gotten approval for this. We will be the only two schools in southern Arizona, kind of leading the pack on that. At the 6A level, there's only 5 schools at the 6A level that have not gone there, and 3 of them are in southern Arizona, but we are leading the way with this. We're currently looking to, we have reserved funds to basically support the programs with equipment and coaches and so forth. We have also the most impressive part of it right now currently to get it going is that we have a $3,000 donation from Nike to fund Mountain View and another $3,000 to fund uniforms at Marana High. So asking for your approval and answer any of your questions.
I move that the governing board approve the girls' flag football program at Marana High School and Mountain View High School.
Second.
Any questions?
I have one. Can girls still play football if they choose to tackle football?
They can, and actually right now in these beginning seasons, they can actually also participate in other fall sports. So one of the things that we did to see if we even wanted to go this route was we pulled the student athletes and see who was interested. We had some girls volleyball players and so forth, and we looking at a way to, they can balance both. They'll play games twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If it conflicts with a JV football game, they'll actually take place before that game. So some of our Thursday night games will actually have a flag football game at 5 and then a JV tackle game at 7. So
I have 2 questions. The first one, excuse me, has Nike put any strings on their donation?
yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we're not seeing anything. It has to go specifically just to uniforms, and of course, it's only the purchase of Nike uniforms there. But as far as other agreements, other equipment and so forth, there are no restrictions for that.
Okay, the second question, and I hate to even ask this, and a few years ago I wouldn't have even thought to ask this, but is this related, is this limited to biological girls?
Well, right now, actually, we would have, it would all
It's
fall
kind of a yes
in-
or no question.
Right now, I don't know. So like, because what I will say is right now they are following the AIA guideline that says girl sports, this is a girl sport, so it'd be reserved for girls, boys for boys, and then girls can participate in boys.
Okay, so,
Yes.
It's
But
up to-
that's,
it's really up to-
but
it's up
but
to
that's in our
AIA.
policy and on AIA, yes.
okay, perfect, thank you, thank you.
Sorry. I had to think it through. Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how much participation you expect?
That is a great question. Right now, the numbers that I got, I believe from Marana High were the most solid, and it was around 28 girls had signed up. I hadn't heard from Mountain View what their set number was.
So you're gonna have freshmen and JV teams?
Right now, it's just varsity only.
You have any coaches lined up?
We do. We got some very excited coaches, but once again, we can't do anything until we post and then go through the hiring process, but there
Women
are
or
some.
men coaches?
They are, right now, they're men. So the ones that I know of right now are men.
Good idea. Carry on.
Yeah, thank you.
So how many girls can be on the team?
It's unlimited, honestly, and there is some good conversation about that because, you know, especially some of the even larger schools right now, they are having those discussions. Right now, going into that first season, it's to get that program off the ground, given cycling through. Think about flag football, especially looking at the rules. It's not as specific on positional play. You know what I mean? There's a lot more opportunity to so these first few years, it's really get kids out, get them active, figure out where they're strongest and so forth, and see if they continue on from there so they can play multiple positions and have that experience.
So on that too, so I'm guessing all our away games are gonna be in Phoenix.
Yeah, the closest schools right now, I looked really closely at that. So 2 schools in Casa Grande, so not too far there. 2 schools in Maricopa.
Do we have some leeway with AIA? Are they setting it?
Oh yeah, the schedules are already set. Yeah, they're already set. So our conference is pretty close. They've been pretty savvy. I mean, there's some schools at the 5A level that are in the North Valley. Actually, Flagstaff's got a team too.
What
We're
about,
not in that.
what about Deer Valley?
Oh, I can't remember if Deer Valley's on there or not.
That's far.
Yeah, I know it's far.
Do we have enough transportation time and everything with going on to?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
'Cause
Great
going to
question.
Phoenix every
Yeah,
other
yeah.
day is gonna-
It's always a challenge. Yeah, absolutely. So.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is J10, discussion approval to work with the Arizona Department of Administration of School Facilities on the Silver Bell facility. Dr. Streeter.
I can chime in if you want.
Dr. Lopez, governing board members, members of our audience, in March of 2022, the district presented to the governing board the terms and conditions for additional high school square footage that was granted by the Arizona Department of Administration for school facilities. Further, it provided 3 years for the approved project to be started and granted at that time $17.6 million for design, construction, and furnishings. Recently, this budget has been reduced after a subsequent population projection to 12.2 million, which is actually the number that we've been playing around with. The district has been in communication with the department and has instructed their staff that we have been working with the governing board for clear direction with regards to the Silver Bell facility. Based upon our conversations that have taken place during 2 recent study sessions, the district is planning to move forward with a renovation of the Silver Bell facility in an effort to create a personalized learning facility that's layered with additional CTE programming as well as dual enrollment opportunities for high school students. The first step in this process is to begin working through the procurement requirements. So the recommendation tonight is simply to allow the administration to begin working with the Arizona Department of Administration for school facilities on this process.
I move the governing board approve the district administration working with the Arizona Department of Administration for schools facilities in relation to Silver Bell facility.
Second.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
That
Mr. President.
17 million, is that for modification of the campus and remodeling?
So the 17 has been reduced to 12, which is why it's important to get approval going before it gets reduced again. But it's 12 million, and that's for all aspects of the project. So any type of renovations done, any type of new construction, as well as furniture and equipment would all be under that umbrella.
Follow up on that. Have you engaged an architect or a builder to look at the facility to see what modifications need to be made?
Not until the board approves this, allowing us to do that.
I have a question, and it might be too early to ask this, but ballpark, do you have any idea how much money the district might have to kick in to this?
It is, yeah, it's a really good question. It's probably too early in the process to do that. Really, the goal here is to use the funds that are coming from the state for this project. I think that, and what's really unique, this is a unique project with the state. The state has typically not awarded funds for a renovation project. So I know the state is excited to look at kind of an innovative way to address high school space. So the intent is for the funds from the state to cover this project.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I like that word, innovative, so
Yep.
can't wait to see what happens to it. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item is J11, discussion approval of the superintendent's performance pay. So we did meet earlier in the executive session to discuss Dr. Streeter's goals. So can I have a motion?
I see the recommended motion, Dan. I move the governing board approve the 66.66% to be paid to Dr. Daniel Streeter, superintendent, based on the 2020-2023 performance pay.
Second.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. The only reason it's 66.66 right now is because one of the goals has not been. Yeah, we don't have the data back, so therefore we're not gonna make a decision until.
We'll come back with
Yeah,
that.
well, but you'll hear again.
For completeness, can you identify what your three goals were?
So the three performance goals that the governing board and I agreed upon at the beginning of the year were, one, we wanted to improve our letter grades across the district. So if you think about how letter grades are assigned to our schools, and then if you think about how we calculate GPAs, basically what we set is that we would raise that GPA. We will not have letter grade data back from the state until November 1st, which Mr. Holt was alluding to. The second goal was to increase student success in literacy by using our Acadience data. So by looking at cohort data, did we grow a cohort of students by the number that we set was 5%, which we reached. And then the third goal was moving our schools through the certification process for high reliability schools. The goal was that we would have 70% of our schools engaged in that process by August 1st. We have exceeded 70% of our schools being engaged in that process at this point, which is why we approve that, or I shouldn't say, which is why you're looking at it.
But we talked about that earlier. Yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item is item K, board member request for future agenda items. Do we have any? So we will move on to item I, future meetings. The next meeting, at regular meeting, will be August 10th.
See you after next school year.
Yeah. And so the next one, before we adjourn, I'd like to thank Dr. Demler one more time for your service. We will definitely miss you, but we do all wish you the best. So thank you.
We know we'll see her back.
No, should be on vacation.
You're not going to miss this? Okay.
I asked her that question in the parking lot.
All I
said,
can
"You're
say
not
is
gonna miss
good
it."
for you. Thank you, Carolyn. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.